Hello, welcome to the Word Café Podcast. This podcast has been designed with curated content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Audrey Joe-Ezigbo, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. How are you all doing out there? Yes, we're back again to the Word Café live show. I'm so excited. You're wondering, don't worry, you will know very soon. How are you? Yes, I have to say that again. I just need to know how you're doing. Today, I have a wonderful guest in the studio with me. Yes. And we're going to be talking about, you're seeing it already, the Femaleprenuer. Yes, that word has taken so many forms. Entrepreneur, you have from it, you have so many things. Today, we'll be looking at the Femaleprenuer, and I have somebody I consider loaded, to share this with. You're wondering, who is this person? I'm going to say one or two things about, it's a lady. I'm going to say one or two things about her, then I'll call her name, then I'll bring her on. Yes, she is an award-winning transformational business leader. You heard me, and a gas executive. She's a mentor, she's an author, she's a double impact coach, and she is the co-founder and deputy managing director of Falcon Corporations Limited. Who is this person? She's her name is Audrey Joe-Ezigbo. Where is she? You want to see her? I want to see her too. There she is. Hi, Audrey. Good everything. How are you?
Good everything. My delight to be here. Hi, everyone.
I'm fine. I'm so excited. Before we came on, I was telling you guys, I've been reaching out to Audrey all this while, and she's been saying yes to come on the show, and I never got it. So the last time I sent, the invitation, across to her, and she responded. So I went back to the other message. I was like, oh my, she's been accepted to come all this while. And when I mentioned it to my wife, she was like, really? Say yes. Thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. Excellent.
All right. Well, let me allow her to introduce herself. Who is this Audrey Joe-Ezigbo? We want to know her.
Yeah, thanks. I tell you what, I like to describe myself as a very multifaceted person, but everything that I am is embodied in my personal mission statement, and that is to add value to the lives of everyone I meet in a tangible and sustainable manner, and to use every gift, talent, and ability that God has given me to bless the earth. So I'm on a mission to die empty. And that then finds expression in the many, many things that I do. All right. So of course, on the mountain of business and enterprise, I'm the co-founder, deputy managing director of Falcon Corporation. That's the company I started with my husband in 1994. So for the last almost 28 years, we've worked together, building this little or no company into a formidable enterprise today that plays in the midstream and downstream sectors of Nigeria's gas industry. In this time, I've been privileged to be a leader in the industry, in the sense that I am the immediate past president of the Nigerian Gas Association, the first woman who ever occupied that position. And my husband is also the first chairman of the Association of Local Distributors of Gas. So we're literally just a gas couple. But I'm also many other things. Obviously, very happily, wife and mother of 4 amazing adults. I am a writer and author, so I have 4 published books and currently working on others. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm a mentor. I'm a transformative coach. So many things. But, like I said, this is just, I believe that my journey is one of just giving value in wherever God sends me. So I don't want to be restricted to, she's an energy expert and that's all we know of her. no, there's so much more to me. So everywhere he channels, he gives me an assignment, I channel my energies there, and people are always blessed. So this is me so far, and I know there's more to come.
Amazing. I think listening to you, what just keep popping there, just that Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman. And it's like she's so many things at the same time. It's just one thing that describes her value. She's just giving her value out there. Now, how did you begin this journey for you in oil and gas? How did it begin for you?
That's a funny one, actually, but I will always tell the truth because God is my judge, right? Literally, I didn't know anything about oil and gas. However, when I was in my early teens, I think I was somewhere between 13 and 14, my mother bought a book titled A Woman of Substance by Barbara Taylor Bradford. And I read that book and it so resonated with me. I literally felt I was the lead character in that book. And that was when I decided that, you know what, I am never going to work for anyone. I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to build it up into a formidable enterprise. In the time between then and when I started my company, the truth is, if you had asked me what will the business you're building do, I wouldn't have been able to answer you. I didn't have any specific leading towards anything. But by the time I met my husband, of course, love changes the conversation a bit. So I always say that was my annual love period through the eyes of love, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with an idea. I was doing my first master's degree then, and my specialization was banking and finance. He was then teaching. And so because he loved to teach, I've always loved to teach too, so I could relate. We then decided that I should get a job in one of the new banks that were coming into Enugu at that point in time. And it made sense because now we were moving away from the ACBs and CCBs and tally number era into these exotic, flashy cars, nice offices. So it really looked like my master's would make sense there. But I was sitting down waiting to be interviewed and literally felt something say to me, how does this look like the woman of substance? It's like a compromise. So I got up and I left. And when he came back home, I said to him, listen, this is not the dream I've held on to for how long. So I want to start a company. I still want to do that. So he then asked me, what will the company do? Audrey didn't quite have an answer. So we started to talk. Now, at this point in time, also, my best friend in university, Chika, had been posted to Port Harcourt. So we had visited her a few times. And that was literally the first time I started to understand oil and gas. Like there's actually an industry. There's a Port Harcourt city, oil city. And so, of course, oil and gas, we heard is good business. There's money to be made. So in that conversation with my husband, like, okay, well, you know what? This is the only industry we know. Let's go into oil and gas. So it was literally just jumping into what was the first thing I really had any sense of clarity around. And then my husband had a friend who was doing blending of lubricants. And so we just said, okay, we'll go and blend lubricants as well. There was no strategy beyond, it seems he's doing well, let's do the same thing. Of course, once we got in there, many things were happening at that point. Sarawiwa had just been killed, so the whole place was a mess. And the opportunity we thought we would jump into didn't crystallize. So very simply, we started to do odd jobs here and there. I mean, supplying stationery, cleaning material, all sorts of things. As long as it was legal and we're supplying an oil company, we still considered ourselves to be in the industry. But ultimately, one day we were doing a project where every evening as we came back home, because we couldn't afford to stay in a hotel near the site, we had to come back at night by bus. And we kept seeing this fire. Every time there was this fire burning in this particular place. And we kept saying, what on earth? What kind of fire? What are they burning here? And one day somebody in the bus said, it's a gas flare. I had never heard of gas. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like, what is a gas flare? The young man who I guess worked in the industry started to explain about oil production and flaring. And I thought of the communities, the impact on the people. And we said there must be something we can do about this. So that's what can we do about it is the question which we began to find the answer to. And today, decades later, by God's grace, we have done, if I say so, phenomenally well within the industry, adding value to Nigerians, helping to take care of the flaring problem, adding to industrialization, job creation, and all that. So, I mean, God has been faithful. It's a long story. I'm sure you don't have all the time, but Literally, this is it.
It's fascinating, the way you described that journey, starting from, should I say, the unknown.
Yeah.
Being ignorant about the industry, but you tell yourself, I just want to create value, and for that reason, I just go out there and ask the necessary questions, and I just demand to know. I want to know. And from that point of view, as in, I want to know, now I know. So somehow, now that I know, I'm creating value from what I know.
That's right.
Before. Now, what were your challenges, as in, looking at the beginning, your teaching phase and all that, what were the challenges?
Oh my gosh, how long is this conversation supposed to last? The challenges, there were so many. I can tell you a few though. So the biggest really was, nobody wanted to register you. Like, you've set up this company with your very meager resources. You're coming at the industry with your energy and your commitments to add value. And nobody, it's like, no, you need experience. It's always a chicken and egg thing, right? You want experience to register my business. I cannot get experience unless you register me. So, that was really tough, trying to find, where we would get an open door. Luckily, we had one or two of the oil companies then, the IOCs then, who they had their like general contracting level, where it wasn't so difficult, even though a lot was required. So that was really the entrance into that space. Just knowing that, it's going to be a gradual step up. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get the big jobs overnight. Just do the little ones and do them excellently well, such that you get referrals. So literally, my husband and I we were not proud. It was very humble days. You can imagine the company was called Falcon Petroleum, and with that big name, we were supplying stationery and also so things like that. It didn't matter to us. We just felt you're just starting, so humble yourself and take it one step at a time. The second thing was that in that industry at that point in time, there was always a requirement that you should have foreign technical partners. I mean, as a nation, we've really journeyed far on the local content narrative. Back then, if you didn't have some foreigners somewhere behind you, it was as if, why are we talking to you? So the first question was always, who are your technical partners? And we didn't even know anybody, much less technical partners. So we were just saying, look, all we knew is that if you give us the opportunity, we will bring everything together to do the best that we can for you. And so that was really tough. It closed a lot of doors for us from the beginning. Of course, there were challenges with funding. So even when we did get some projects, raising the money was difficult. And in those days, and I know some entrepreneurs still go around carrying this flag that says banks don't like to help SMEs. Well, with hindsight, if I was a bank managing other people's money, I won't help myself either. Because when you look back at that point in time, we had nothing. Yeah. We had nothing to securitize any loan and stuff like that. So it was just really, we just felt, but you should know we're trying to do business. Help us. And it doesn't work like that. Okay. It doesn't work like that. So that was tough. But, we had to then become creative. For instance, we did have some relationship with a community bank. And so we took our little second-hand diva of a car, and I always call that car a diva because we needed to park it at an angle, otherwise it will start the next morning, So, but at least we were able to take it to some community bank, park it there, and they would give us maybe 40,000, 30,000, go and do the job, come back. Then we were also very careful with our suppliers. So whatever we collected, we did our best to make sure that we paid as and when we committed to. Yeah. Now, what started to happen, therefore, was that we began to build credibility. So sometimes we had a job, we'll go to the suppliers and say, hey, guys, we don't have money, but we need these materials. Can you give us? And they were like, oh, sure, we trust you. So that began to help, balance out the requirement to have capital to buy our raw materials. And then on the customer side, we just will give it all our best, make sure we did the jobs very well. And so we started to get a lot of referrals. And it really got to a point where we were now able to comfortably and confidently say, oh, we don't do jobs unless you put down 70%. And then the customer starts to negotiate, oh, can I put 50? And I'm like, guy, if you knew that 10% self, I'd be very happy.
No, you just build that confidence. over time.
Yeah, but that was really, I mean, if you looked at it end to end, the challenge was just getting the jobs, getting the opportunities, the cash flow. And of course, because we didn't have money, like literally by the time we set up our office, we had run out of cash. And so even being able to hire the right competencies, that was very difficult, you know? So we were dealing with what we had, just some very, not very skilled people just to keep the office admin going. So any job we got, we had to go find contract people. And of course, that was at a cost to us. We couldn't make as much profit, but it was fine. Many times along the journey, we've had to pay people more than ourselves, employ people and pay them more than ourselves because we needed their skills. Yeah. You know, and stuff like that. So it's been tough. I mean, I could tell you many stories. At some point, it was so bad that I had to convert the garage of the building I was in into a video club just to be able to earn extra income. My husband had to start traveling with, he used to go to the north to buy yam and tomatoes and things like that and bring them back with the malams. I mean, literally he's sitting on top of the lorries with the malams, right?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
The days of little beginnings.
Yeah. But the thing is, you know, I feel that every entrepreneur, you will have your own, what would I call them now? Bootstrapping stories, right? And those of us who stick with it, those of us who don't give up, no matter how difficult it is, literally we make better successes and more sustainable successes because we learn how to manage. We're efficient with resources. You know, if you work hard for money, you don't get money now doesn't move you, right? You're always thinking of how to create value out of what you do have because you never forget that journey, and you certainly don't want to go back there. You know, so yeah.
Amazing story.
We've blessed God,
Amazing story. Now, you know, when you were introducing yourself, you use the word, and I like to describe it like this. Audrey Joe-Ezigbo is a woman of faith. You know, she doesn't hide it. She wherever you see her, whenever you hear her speak, it is laced with that faith. Why? Why do you do that?
Oh my gosh, why not? Why not? Here's the thing, and I know we're all in different places on our journeys, right? Yeah. By the time I got to where I can say that I grew up in a Christian home, yes, but by the time I got to where I had my own encounter with God, the understanding that everything about me, the breath that I wake up in the morning, is just by His grace. I have had friends that died in their sleep and they were not ill, nothing. So there's nothing that guarantees the breath of life in the morning. Yes, I'm a very intelligent woman, and I don't say that as a brag because God gave me the intelligence. I didn't learn it. I was intelligent before I knew what the word meant, right? So my father, my mother would tell you stories of by the time you were in nursery school, top of the class, did I know what intelligence was then? I didn't, right? So along my journey, I have seen too many things that show me that, you know, God is with me on this journey, that His mercies, seen and unseen, sustain me. If I even take my business, let me give you an example. My first degree is in microbiology. My husband is a medical parasitologist. Do you want to explain to me how a microbiologist and a medical parasitologist end up building a major gas company? How does that make sense?
It can only be God.
It can only be God. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know anything. I mean, we've made so many mistakes that minus God. Even the whole, listen, that whole encounter with gas, for instance. Yeah. honestly, let me tell you the story in full. We were looking for business to do. We didn't have any jobs. And we met a friend of my husband's, an old friend of his, who said, he had gotten some borehole projects to do. And my husband said, how many? He said 28. I think it was a UN type project. And he said, okay, can you give us a couple? And he asked my husband, do you know how to drill boreholes? My husband said, don't worry about it. I'll find the best borehole drillers in Port Harcourt. We will not disappoint you. And the guy took a chance on us, right? It was a relationship. He took a chance on us. Those boreholes now turned out to be not in Port Harcourt, but in Oji River. And so we had to take transport every day by road to that place and coming back at night. Like I said, we didn't have resources for any accommodation and all that. And that's how we had this encounter with flares, right? Otherwise, nothing in my in my horizon.
Yeah.
I've had venture capital investors in my business, right? A major, very reputable one who was invested in my business for about 7 years. How did that happen? I had a friend, a very dear friend of mine, and I was in Surulere. My office was in Surulere. She was in Ikeja. But funny story, but true. Both of us used to like to go to some Amala joints in Ikeja. So we had a routine around that. And one day I called and I said, hey, I'm on my way. She says, no, I'm not around. I'm going for this meeting. And I said, what meeting is that? And she says, there is this VC who invested in some friend who works with her husband. And so Jeff and I are going to meet with them to see if they will invest in our business. And then she sends me a message after we've spoken and says, you know what, Audrey, save this number. Maybe one day you and Joe will need this number. And I'd forgotten about it. Fast forward just about 3 months later, I then had this project to do, looking for money to do it, not able to raise money. The offers coming were from funny people that I was, had no plans to partner with. And one day I just had something remind me, the Holy Spirit, obviously. Where is that number Nkechi gave you? I couldn't even remember how I saved it. I literally had to call my friend again and say, you gave me one number a few months ago. Can you give it back to me? And she sent me the number again. And I called, and I tell you what, in 3 weeks, I had my investors. How could that, how do things like this happen? And you step back and say that, what has God got to do with it? God gave you your business. He gave you your wisdom. He gave you your family. He gives you health in everything. So I refuse to be one of those that buys this, this is business, keep your spiritual life out of it. No, for me, my business is my spiritual life. Within my business are my neighbors who, according to God's injunction, I should love. So my staff, my partners, my contractors, they're there. I'm not going to say, I only love the ones in church on Wednesdays and Sundays. No. Yeah. These are the people I'm with all the time, right? Every word, don't steal, don't do this, don't do that. It's in my business where I spend most of my working week that I'm going to have the opportunity to break his rules or abide by them. How about that? So, personally, I choose, I know some people don't see that it makes sense, but I choose to be unapologetic about the fact that God is my source and he deserves the glory for every bit of my life. Every bit.
You don't have to be in any case, because when we look at businesses around us, a good number of us, as who profess to be Christians, as the case may be, you go into business, you hear people use words like, put the Bible aside, let's do business. But when I read through your profile, because I've been following you for a bit now, there was this particular, I think it was a write-up you put up on LinkedIn or so, and you made reference to what you just said now. I can't separate it. As in my faith, my belief, and my business, they are one and the same thing. And honestly, for me, this is what sets you apart from others, for looking at what you do and all that. It's amazing. Who is Audrey Joe-Ezigbo, the author? Let's hear about that. Because you've written a couple of books. How? You're a business person and now you're an author. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that everybody has their, everybody has what they relax with or what they cope with. And for me, writing is that's what it is for me, right?
No. Hold your horses. Please take that again slowly.
I said everybody has something that is either their, how they relax, how they unwind, or how they cope. And for me,
writing for you is your coping mechanism.
Well, coping is part of it.
Wow.
It's also a way of it's relaxation.
Wow.
But also, I just have such a burden for people, right? I have such a burden for people. And so part of writing also is me trying to connect and share my heart, share my perspectives, share, just try to bring people to I always use the word perspective, because I think that perspective defines your life. Yeah. If you just adopt the wrong perspective about something, you can be literally miserable about something that doesn't exist. Right? Or, but if you adopt the right perspective, you can look at life through a totally different set of lenses and just live a richer, fuller life. Yeah. So writing for me is that thing where, if you look at a couple of my books are centered around my blogs, for instance. And why did I start to blog? There's just such a message in everything. And I wasn't sure that people were seeing it. And there was that sense of you need to be, yes, I speak a lot, but I wanted to reach a larger audience where I couldn't go physically, right? And so eventually I blogged over 10, almost 12 years. Right. So in that time, I did pick some of my blogs, my posts, and articulate into a couple of my books. But one of my books is also my book, Double Impact. It was born out of the fact that I had always wanted to write a business book. Like as far back as I can remember, I just felt I'm going to write a book about business. But I didn't want to write your proverbial, the ABCs of business, or, the A to Z's of business. I just didn't want any of those regular books. And I just kept praying about it. But one day I was in LBS in my executive MBA class. And for some reason, they started talking about couples working together. And I was so shocked that I thought it was only the guys that be pushing back. But I was literally shocked that even women were like, no, I can never work with my husband. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. So just myself and one other lady in the class were like, but why not? So I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up and I literally saw it, office and home. And I thought, okay, this is exactly the angle. You've worked with your husband for all these years successfully. Your friends at home, you have a great relationship with your family, and yet you're building a great business. What do you think has helped you to succeed? And how can you share your heart with others so that they can also, if couples work together, they can also have a great relationship and a great business? Yeah. So I literally processed my own experience and wrote that book. Now, after I wrote the book, I started to meet couples everywhere. They were crawling out of the woodworks, couples that work together. And so one day, the Lord laid it on my heart that, beyond the book, I want you to begin to engage with these couples. And that's how I started my Double Impact platform, where I have regular meetings with couples who work together. My other book, Ruach, is literally... I call it a collection of Holy Spirit inspired songs, because sometimes when I just sit down to do my quiet time, rather than, reading my Bible, I just feel led and I pick my pen and things begin to flow and I write them down. So I shared my heart on my journey with God through the pages of that book. And I still have, like I said, I'm working on a couple now. So it's unfolding. It's really just about sharing God in different ways. Through the pages of a book, and it's therapeutic, it's relaxing, and it's value adding. So, yeah.
I thought I was alone in that space. When I tell people that writing for me is therapeutic, and it's what do you mean? Sometimes I write also. I've written 4 books myself, and I have more just like you. Coming. And sometimes they just ask me, so how do you write? How? I said, well, many a times, because I travel a lot, my work makes me go around and all that. So on board, at the airport, in the taxi or something, I'm writing. My wife actually introduced me to that, beat. On my phone, I have a note. So I just write. When the thoughts hit me, I just write. Sometimes I'm having a conversation with somebody and I just hear something. I just write. And what are you doing? I say, excuse me, I'm coming. I'm writing. So it is therapeutic. It's like, I feel so relieved when I put down those thoughts. Amazing. So I'm not alone in this space. Anyway,
can I share something? Let me just share something quickly, because I think that, as we're having this conversation, there's probably someone or the other listening to us who has this, I want to write a book. I really want to. I've always wanted to write. Technology is your friend. So like you've said, your phone, literally my husband, he knows I'm always on my device. He's like, he calls me Madam List, Madam Writer, because I'm always jotting something down. But there are also apps, right? Yeah. Free apps for that matter. I love Otter, for instance. Otter, you just dictate. So as the thing is hitting you, as you're reflecting, just dictate into your phone. And it gives you the audio file and the text file. Wow. And then when you're writing, if you want to write, don't worry. It's not about perfection. Just let it flow, first of all. You can come back and edit later. I feel that there are more people who need to share so much that they carry, but they're thinking of, how will I get to page 100? Start with page 1. My coach taught me something. She called it the 15 minutes to destiny principle. And she said, girl, just show up every day for 15 minutes in front of your laptop. Some days you will write 5 lines. Some days you will write 2 pages. Some days you won't even be able to think. So you'll just be sitting there and you'll be frustrated. I can't even write 1 word. Just make sure you show up and show up consistently. And one day the book will be done. And that's exactly what happened. So I just want to encourage anyone who is out there. Don't worry about the end product. And your book can be many things. Your book can be a beginning all the way. I started the story in Genesis and I got to Revelation. Or it might just be a collection of different articles that will still just minister when they are brought together nicely. So I think the world needs to hear from you. If you have a book or books in you, please let it out, okay? Or let them out.
I feel you. Yeah. When my wife hears this now, she will tell me, I told you so. Exactly what you're saying now. I told you so. You see? Right. Now, I read a report recently. I want us to zoom into the female or the feminine essence in the business space. Particularly Nigeria, or should I say Black Africa, Nigeria. I read this report about where we have more women occupying managerial positions now, globally. Togo, I think, tops the list, followed by Nigeria. And I was like, really? So I was asking myself, how do we help the women now? Because it's obvious, it's real, you can't run away from it. They are occupying more strategic positions. What do we do? What do we do to help them from your perspective?
So this question has different dimensions. And personally, I'm not sure that I will agree with that report.
Okay.
I would actually want to see the data. How many companies did they sample? What kinds of companies? Because we have this way of picking. Even if you pick 5,000 or 5 million, it's still just a fraction, and we create all this statistical analysis around it. I still feel that we don't have enough women at the managerial levels, or if we have more, and I know we have more, but I don't think we have enough. And even for what we have, the bigger conversation is, why are we not having them at the C-suite level? Because that's where the real change happens. And for me, that's what we need to see. So where we keep having more and more women at the managerial level, but once it's going to that senior executive level, the numbers diminish, then it tells us that something is fundamentally wrong. And it means that things are skewed against women being able to attain the fullness of their potentials in the corporate setting. And that's not good for the nation. But let's even talk about those who are in the managerial levels thus far. So there are many different things. One is, the conversation is a lot around diversity and inclusiveness. So you have more women, but are you creating policies that allow them to thrive without feeling something is wrong with them, or that their performance levels are not at par? What do I mean by that? So the women are obviously the mothers, and unfortunately, beyond being mothers, they are actually now saddled with the title of parent. But what do I mean by this? Parenting is a two-way street. You have a mother and father, and that constitutes parents. Somehow, though, the entire burden of parenting many times, or maybe say 85% of it, is sitting on the woman. So she's both the mother and she's the parent. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do.
She's a lot. And she has to then deal with work. And when she has to, you know, when a woman says, my daughter's birthday or my child is sick, there's almost an imperceptible and even sometimes very obvious body language, as though that's why we tell you people to stay at home, right? So we need to create, when a woman is pregnant, for instance, and we're acting as though the pregnancy is a disease, forgetting that even the men in the organization came as a result of pregnancies. It doesn't make any sense. Making room for that, creating the creches in the offices, creating longer maternity leaves without making it look like the woman is not working. At least we see from COVID now that being in the office and being productive are two different conversations. You can literally be productive from home. So creating those kind of flexible working situations. But I think there's also a need for a huge reorientation on the parts of both men and women, right? As to the peculiarities of being a woman in the workspace and how we can support that without the attitudinal challenges that go with that terrain, right? From a policy point of view, nationally, as a nation, we also need to be thinking about these things. Like, what are we signaling to our women? Why do we always find a way to kind of diminish women and their achievements and their journeys? The whole narrative around once a woman is successful, her home can be successful. Those type of things. Literally, many people, still feel that way, both men and women. Right, so we have a lot of work to do. It's an orientation that needs to be happening in the public sector, private sector, nationally, and then just seeing how we engage organizations too, to make sure that you always have a pipeline. So within my company, for instance, my HR people know me. Once it's time for recruitment and you bring me only men, we're going to have a challenge, right? You're going to have a challenge because you can't tell me that we don't have competent women. And I will not hire just because somebody is a woman, but I want to see that we've given the opportunity and so on and so on. And we have to be intentional about that. At the board level, the same thing. Are you balancing this so that when we're discussing, we're getting the best of both perspectives, right? So I don't know. I mean, I could go on. I'm very passionate about this topic, but I think that it's really about a reorientation and then everybody now taking that and filtering it within their own organizations or sectors or communities to see where can we change the way that we embrace the journey of a woman within the corporate space. And it starts from the society level, I must say. A lot of this is a societal thinking that needs to shift.
Yeah. Whoa. We need like 5 or 6 or 10 Audreys out there, to bring about this change. Because honestly, your perception, your understanding to this subject is very deep, I must say, very deep, and I never saw it from what you just explained now, because reading the data or whatever, I just like, okay, so we have a lot of this, but you just gave another dimension to that discussion. Thank you so much. Where do we catch Audrey if we want to catch her? Where do we catch her now?
Yeah, so I think everybody can follow me on my different platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I haven't been as active on Twitter. I just kind of went off Twitter about a year and a half ago because I find Twitter is really vicious. So I just kind of disengaged, but I'm maybe coming back a bit there. But mostly on my platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I do have a personal website, which also, you can see my upcoming activities and the rest. And of course, you can always send me a line. My email is audrey@audreyjoe-ezigbo.com. And I try to engage with those because I'm always looking for people who are on a journey. And I find ways to engage with them in that regard. So it's not an all-comers affair, but sometimes somebody sends you a well-articulated mail explaining where they're coming from and what it is they would like you to help them with. And I'm always happy to make time for people in that regard. I just believe that the journey of success and leadership needs us to be available. So yes, I'm a very busy person, but I create time because it's important. That one life you give 30 minutes, 1 hour of your time can transform an entire generation. So I'm very mindful about, in the middle of my schedules, making room to, just have time with people that I don't know from anywhere and share perspectives with them.
Beautiful. Audrey, I want to say a very big thank you for this moment, taking this time, to come into this space and share with us. We are so grateful. We don't take this for granted in any way. We want to say a very big thank you. Guys, I have been discussing with Audrey Joe-Ezigbo. You will agree with me. I mean, she is a quintessential individual. The way she's just giving out that knowledge endlessly, and we're so grateful. Before I let her go, that word that you always end with to encourage people out there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I would say is this, if you look at where you are as all you will ever be, you're going to miss the very best part of yourself. You need to believe that all that you've done thus far, everything has been a journey to bring you and position you for the greater that you carry. And this greater is not based on your circumstances. It's just based on an inner conviction that my life would count for something. And it's based on you then determining to come to the point where you partner with God and allow Him to just guide your steps. I believe that each of us is an embodiment of so much greatness, so much power, so much potential to impact the world. And if we let ourselves be colored and covered by the things we go through, we miss it. So reach deep into yourself, get close to God, spend some time and let Him just show you, and let Him, do it afraid is where I always end this, that when He shows you, because He will, the things that He would have you do. Sometimes they're scary. I don't know anyone. I don't have the money. I don't know this, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Do it afraid. Just take a step. It is in taking the step that transformation happens, and the world is literally waiting for you to happen. So looking forward to hearing from you too.
Amazing. Just take the step. Guys, yes, this is how we say it all the time on the show. The Word Café is where we come in to lean on one another's experience, to glean from that, experience and receive strength and go forth out there and do amazing things. You heard it from her. You have heard it from her. I wish we could continue talking, but a word is enough for the wise. Till we come your way again. My name is Amakri Isowe, your neighborhood word trader. You know how we say it? I believe in the power of words. Why? It is the unit of creation. All right, then, I gotta go now. Till we come your way again. Bye for now. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye then.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Before we sign off, I just want to encourage you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful time. And also, I'd like to hear from you, your feedback. You've been listening to the Word Café Podcast. I would love to hear from you, the feedback. If you have any questions, you go ahead and ask those questions. You can reach me at my email address, amacrigaribaldi@gmail.com. Amakri is AMACHRIBALDI@gmail.com. And we'll get back. You know how we do it on the show. Thank you.
Awesome time it has been with you on the Word Café Podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Amakri Isowe. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, and my HR notebook on Amazon and on Robin Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page at the same address. Yes, till we see you again. Bye for now.